Hi, I'm Katherine and welcome to Scoutadelic. Today I'm going to teach you how to make this into a bee-friendly container. To do this you're going to need a container. Here I've got an old metal bucket and it's already got some nice holes in the bottom. You're going to need some lovely compost and you're going to need a lovely selection of plants that you've got here. So the first thing you're going to have to do is make sure that your container has holes in it. So I already have holes in the bottom of mine, so I'm good to go. Then you're going to get your compost and give a good layer of it put a good layer of it in the bottom. Okay, make sure it's nice and crumbly. So you can actually put stones and bits of broken crocks and pottery in the bottom of this to help with the drainage. But for this one, it's going to be raised up on some blocks, so I'm not going to put any crocks in the bottom. So once you've got your holes in, get your container filled up to probably about 2/3 the way up the length of it. Okay. Now is the fun part, getting your plants in. I've got a range of plants here. These are snapdragons, antirrhinums, and the bees absolutely love these. The flowers are very, very unique, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them later on. So they're going to go in first. They're quite tall. They're going to go either into the middle or the back of my container, depending on where you're going to put this. And they are all nice and brightly coloured. I'm just placing those in. I'm not going to cover them in compost just yet. Next, I'm going to put these lovely Nemesia, and these are like Parma Violet colours. And again, these are going to be great at attracting those bees because they see in ultraviolet. So any blues, purples, pinks, those are going to bring these bees to your container. So the Nemesia is a middle layer. So you've got the antirrhinums, the snapdragons here up at the top. Then you've got a next layer down, which is the Nemesia. And then I'm going to put some smaller lobelia and some trailing plants over this. This is a beautiful trailing plant, Lysomachia, and it gives this greeny gold foliage, and it has a lovely little yellow flower if you're lucky for it to flower, but this can stay in your containers throughout the whole year. Next, we have some lobelia. Again, I've chosen the bluey colours. We've got a dark blue, a light blue, a little bit of a purple blue. So to fill the container with more compost, all you're going to be doing is lifting up the sides very, very gently and teasing the compost down each side of those plants, finding where all those holes are, and with your fingers gently pushing down in and around them, and then giving them a little bit of a brush back so that you can find the next little opening in between all those lovely plants. So nice and gently as you go, making sure that all the sides have got compost in, because this is going to give you a really nice display and feed these plants. So I'm using a multi-purpose compost here, and that means it's got all the nutrients that these plants will need throughout the summer. So these are the snapdragons, and the actual Latin name is antirrhinum, but we call them snapdragons because the flower, if you squeeze it, will open up. Can we see that? Like a little dragon's mouth snapping away. The bee will fly, imagine my finger as the bee, it will fly in, it will crawl in, and can we see we have, we have the pollen being released on the anthers of the flower, and as the bee goes in, it rubs itself on the back of the bee. Let's see if it works. And then look what happens at the end of my fingernail. the pollen is released on the fluffy hairs of the bee, and as the bee backs out, it'll then go and pollinate the next flower. And this is why it's so special to encourage those bees to come in and go with lots and lots of nice flowers. Don't forget to give it a bit of a water before it goes out. So that's why bees are quite important when it comes to gardening and our environment. If we didn't have bees, we wouldn't have any pollination. And if we didn't have any pollination, we wouldn't have any flowers and fruits and vegetables and all those yummy things that help us keep alive. And it is part of the food chain after all. So bees are very important. So let's get planting these containers and encouraging our bees into the garden.